4, fire! Right now, we're basically clearing this tree line, firing 2 to 4 shells at a time. Meet Runa, the commander of an anti-aircraft artillery unit. Yes, she's a woman leading combat missions on the front lines. Her job? Far from easy. Runa commands an S-60 anti-aircraft gun, a 57mm cannon that's decades older than she is and demands constant maintenance. These cannons were pulled out of storage in 2022 due to a shortage of artillery in the Ukrainian army. With a maximum range of only 3 miles, Runa and her crew have to bring this 5-ton beast dangerously close to enemy lines, often into direct sight. Her grit and resilience? Absolutely inspiring. Today, more than 68,000 women serve in the Ukrainian armed forces, a number larger than the total size of Germany's ground forces. More than 5,000 women are directly engaged in combat missions on the front lines. Today, we'll uncover why Ukrainian women choose the military, how challenging it is to be a woman soldier at war, and what roles they take on. Before getting to the front lines, Ukrainian women first have to make it into the army, a challenge in itself. With or without a medical background, they just outright refused me for combat roles. I was rejected multiple times. They'd look at me and say, "You're 19. You probably haven't figured out what you really want yet." Active combat and stereotypes make many units reluctant to accept women, even for rear positions, let alone combat roles. They told me, "We can offer you administrative roles, clerk, accountant, lawyer, surveyor." I listened to everything they said and I told them, "All right, but that's not what I want. I want to serve with a weapon in my hands." They just stared at me and said, "We don't take women for those roles." And I told them, "Well, I think you will." Before 2022, women on the front lines were a rare sight. One of the few was Marine Yarina Chornogus, who shared, "First, accept that it won't be easy. Accept that, as a woman stepping into a job mostly seen as a man's role, you'll face lots of obstacles, doubts from comrades and commanders. You need to push through all of that." Today, the situation has improved significantly, and women can now take on most combat and non-combat roles. Women are serving as snipers, combat medics, drone operators, clerks, and lawyers. For some women, their civilian lives just weren't fulfilling enough. Not long ago, I was in Lviv, sipping coffee. Now I'm standing here in full gear. Donating daily wasn't enough. I wanted to do more. Others joined with a clear purpose: revenge for lost loved ones. I lost my friends, my boyfriend, someone very close to me. My commander, which promised me a big caliber weapon for a big revenge. Women in the military often joke about their place in the army. Honestly, I think women were made for the military. For one, we're smaller, so we're less noticeable. We need less fabric for uniforms. We eat less, can go longer without food and water, and even our blood clots faster if we're injured. With this mindset, women are stepping into roles as combat medics, gunners, and even stormtroopers on the front lines. I'm a servicewoman, a female stormtrooper. We jumped out of the Bradley, and that was it. I was in the war. Bullets were flying over my head. I was already wrapping someone's shredded hand. Olen, this isn't training anymore. This is the real deal. Becoming a female stormtrooper requires not just physical endurance, but also mental resilience. Women often push themselves harder than men to prove they belong. I have to work twice as hard to show that I'm capable. Take Panther, a battle-hardened soldier from the Lyot Brigade, which fittingly means fury. This no-nonsense brigade was formed by volunteers, many of whom cut their teeth in the police force. For some women, joining the patrol police is just the warm-up act before stepping into combat roles, trading ticket writing in patrol cars for rifles and light infantry maneuvers. Before joining her unit, Panther had one more hurdle: getting her parents' permission. The commander said, "Call your parents and tell them you're joining." So I called, right in front of him, and said, "I'm going to Lyot." My mom and dad were like, "Do something to stop her from passing the selection." They were against it until the very end. Panther's grit paid off, and now she's out on the range, gearing up for her next combat missions. Deserves a like, doesn't she? Sometimes, people don't even believe women serve in combat roles. He said, "Your medic knows more than the battalion commander. Who's the medic here?" I told him, "Who do you think?" He said, "You." I laughed and replied, "I'm not a medic, I'm a machine gunner." He chuckled and I left thinking, well, he's a cool guy, even if he doesn't believe me. Later, he asked all my guys and commanders to confirm. Then he came back and said, "Can I get a photo with you? No one's going to believe you're actually a machine gunner." Women in Ukraine's armed forces serve in combat roles, regardless of size or build, driven by an unshakable will to fight. My gun's bigger than I am. I stand at full height while aiming, while the guys hunch over. I can even climb onto the mortar base plate if it's stable, just to get a better view. Take Valentina, for example. She's only 19, but she's already mastered operating a 2B11 Sani 120mm mortar, skillfully taking out enemy positions. Her weapon? No small thing. The mortar itself weighs 440 pounds. Each shell is 35 pounds. Setting up the mortar is no easy feat. The barrel rests on a specially dug-in base plate, supported by a bipod that needs to be quickly and skillfully adjusted. Valentina's job is to ensure the mortar is set up correctly, along with the artillery sighting compass, a process that's as challenging as it sounds. Her commander, Witch, is another experienced warrior. Working with Witch as a commander is amazing. She gives clear, thought-out orders, and everything runs smoothly according to her plans. She's a steel woman. Heading to the front or solving problems, nothing phases her. Another unstoppable woman is Chile, a sniper in the Rubíž Brigade. If the enemy spots a sniper, they throw everything they've got at them. But even under those conditions, Chile doesn't falter and completes her missions with precision. A sniper's job is to take take the enemy out of the fight. Doesn't matter where you hit them. What matters is taking them out of action. Her weapon of choice is a .308 caliber UR-10 rifle. I like it. It's light, convenient, and just a fun little sniper rifle. It's perfect for distances from 300 to 800 meters, right in its sweet spot. Later, snipers move on to larger calibers like the .338 Barrett or Ruger. The more skilled you are, the bigger caliber you graduate to. If someone wants to become a sniper in our brigade, they're welcome. We've got top-tier instructors who will teach them everything about sniper rifles and how to use them. Of course, snipers need more than just skill. They need gear, lots of it. And here's where women face a unique challenge: uniforms. When women join the military, they're given men's underwear. Seriously, for years, women had to order custom uniforms, alter men's gear, and literally wear men's boxers. Things are changing though. In 2024, 65,000 women's uniform sets were ordered, featuring better fits. They've adjusted the chest area, redesigned the collar for a snugger fit, widened the hips, and added side slits for more comfort. There's even a drawstring on the back to customize the fit. But while uniforms are improving, there's still a gap in access to basic hygiene products and medications. Nobody talks about these things much. I realized I needed to carry medicine for urinary tract issues caused by cold, lack of water, or hygiene. My kit isn't just painkillers and fever meds. It includes stuff to manage these issues too. Women face these challenges even during basic training, which is no different for men and women. This is where it becomes clear who's ready for combat and who's better suited for other roles. Most units also offer additional training, so women aiming for combat roles have plenty of opportunities to prepare. By the way, basic training in Ukraine's armed forces deserves a video of its own. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out. After completing their training, women who choose to fight on the front lines often come face to face with the enemy in intense life or death encounters. I clear trenches and I go in first. One time I turned a corner and suddenly came nose to nose with the enemy. He wasn't armed, just walking, but I froze. He froze too. He was barely 15 feet away, staring at me, and I just froze. Why? Because one of the rules drilled into us is, don't shoot until you're certain it's not one of your own. This principle also guides combat medics, a role many women take on, though it's far from easy. Pneumothoraxes, hemothoraxes, head injuries, abdominal wounds, even behind armor trauma, where shrapnel gets through the vest. There were traumatic amputations, every kind of injury you can imagine. We've seen them all. Despite the pressure, Ukrainian medics have saved tens of thousands of lives. But the risks they face are just as great as those of the soldiers they treat. Our position was obliterated, and the guys pulled out a wounded comrade. We were trying to patch him up in the middle of the street. Then I looked up and an RPG exploded just a few feet away from me. I've had concussions too. A 120mm mortar landed nearby, and now one of my ears doesn't work so well. But hey, it's no big deal compared to what others go through. One woman whose story has been seen worldwide is Ruslana Danilkina, who lost a leg and nearly her life when a cluster shell tore through the passenger seat she was riding in. I remember the explosion. Instinctively, I ducked my head. Then I looked down and saw myself clutching my knees, and I immediately knew what had happened. I didn't want to believe it. I screamed to my comrades, "What's going on?" But there was no answer. Had medics not been nearby to provide life-saving first aid, Ruslana would have succumbed to blood loss. Today, she is undergoing rehabilitation, along with hundreds of other women, to reclaim her life. I want to live. I want to show people that it's possible. My simplest dream? I want to stand on skates and skate again. I dream of riding a bike. Losing my leg doesn't mean I've lost everything. These women have left behind their families, their loved ones, and their previous lives to protect everything they hold dear. Their determination is nothing short of inspiring. And while women's basic needs in the military are no different from men's, there's one thing they all agree on. They need ammo to push for victory. If there were a lifetime contract, I'd sign it with my eyes closed. Whose story do you love the most? Runa, the anti-aircraft unit commander, Chili, the sniper, or Panther, the stormtrooper? Let's discuss your choice in the comments.